Feminism is what we say it is. And we say that feminism is the problem. Putting the conversation where it needs to be, this is the Vanguard Report. Hello, friends around the world. Welcome to episode number 28 of the Vanguard Report. Here on the Vanguard Report, it is our business to dismantle feminism and to encourage anybody out there to set up shop doing the very same thing. And how do we dismantle feminism? We expose feminism's lies. We reveal the persistent behavior of feminism's participants. We show the damage which feminism has inflicted on the world. That is how we dismantle feminism. Remember, feminism is a moral collective and is held accountable by us as a moral collective. Non-feminism, on the other hand, is merely the world exclusive of feminism. It is morally and intellectually diverse. It is not an ideology, not a body of theory. It is not a political grouping, and its various parts are no wise answerable to one another. That's the non-feminist sector. Furthermore, non-feminist men and women are 80% of the population, by the best estimates I've heard. And how can 80% of the population be collectively guilty of anything? So, I am Fidelbogen, your host for this episode of the Vanguard Report, and with me is my fellow host, Nick Reading, a true son of the Alberta Prairie. Nick, say hello to all of the people.
Hey everybody, I'm Nick Reading with Men's Rights Edmonton. I would like to thank all the people who offered used computers to me in my last video that I made with Karen Strong, but I ended up receiving enough monetary donations to go out and buy my own. And normally, this would be a good thing. It is a good thing. I got a new computer, but the technical difficulties that come with, Windows 8 and this new Skype have made it so that rather than using my new computer, I am talking to all you kind people on my phone.
Well, Nick, I know you're a Luddite at heart, and I'll tell you let me tell you a little secret. So am I. We're both Luddites, Nick. We're both Luddites. Okay? Anyhow, hey everybody. I am Fidelbogen. I have become very, very, very active on Twitter in the last 4 or 5 weeks or so. And I have just at last check reached the 915 follower mark, and that's a hint. Anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, that's at Fidelbogen. And if you don't know how to spell Fidelbogen, okay, that's Fidelbogen. So everybody, please become my follower on Twitter, at Fidelbogen. That's the one to follow. And I'm looking forward to cracking the 1,000 barrier here. I expect that to happen before too long. All right, on to the first topic of the evening. There is a trend, which I have been noticing recently, something that seems to be developing in the wake of Gamergate. Suddenly, our world has gotten bigger, dramatically bigger. An army of reinforcements has arrived on the field, and the nature of the battle has changed dramatically overnight. The Gamergate uprising is not officially part of any counter-feminist insurgency, much less part of any so-called men's rights movement, yet there is no getting away from a certain intersectionality, let's say. Certainly, the other side, the feminist side, is keenly aware of all this. It's true that Gamergate is fighting the incursion of social justice warriors into the computer gaming culture, but we all know perfectly well that this incursion was spearheaded some time ago by a feminist named Anita Sarkeesian. We all know this, don't we? Likewise, we know that the Gamergate trigger events were A, the Zoe Quinn affair, and B, the cultural war of aggression against the gaming community by the social justice media. Recall all of those slanderous attack articles that they wrote? Just boom, 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 just like that. We also know that the feminists and the social justice warriors are on a continuum with each other and not easily distinguishable. They are both extensions of the authoritarian left, and where one goes, the other is sure to follow. So whether anybody wants to admit it or not, the Gamergate people and people like us are fighting on the same side against a common enemy. Maybe we just don't quite define that enemy in quite the same terms, at least not yet. I know that in the past several weeks, I've started talking about social justice warriors almost as venomously as I talk about feminism, and I think that is a signature development. Now, the Gamergate people do avoid talking about feminism as an adversary, at least officially. That's understandable, given that a number of them claim to have feminist leanings. Nevertheless, I have been tweeting to Gamergate-related hashtags quite a bit, and probably a third of my Twitter followers are gamers. And yes, when I talk to Gamergate people, I do tend to avoid the subject of feminism, and I do limit my talk to points of common focus. I am here to be their ally, not to co-opt their cause. But let's not be coy about this. Even if we and the Gamergaters don't see eye to eye about everything, we are standing shoulder to shoulder all the same. Whether we discuss it or not, feminism is thoroughly implicated in the powers that we are struggling against. And so we cannot doubt the magnetic chain of affinity that links us. The same corrupt power structure that makes war upon them has been making war upon non-feminist people in general for years, and that is a fact worth noting. That is why I say that our world has gotten bigger. People like us, almost overnight, have merged into a far more extended demographic pool. And in the process of so doing, our identity is changing. The word MRA has long been used as a catch-all for a motley collection of people. Pretty much anybody who complains about women, laments the condition of men, speaks harshly of feminism, or any combination of these. For feminism in particular, this word has been a device to contain any threat to the feminist power structure, mainly because it conflates misogyny with principled critique of feminism in order to put a stigma on the latter. However, with the growth of our political ally pool to encompass not only greater numbers, but a greater variety of groups, the catch-bucket conflation trick has gotten more difficult for the feminists. More and more, the feminists feel driven to empty the bucket onto the table in order to spread out the contents and study them in detail. As much as they hate to do so, they are finally admitting that not all non-feminist people are alike. Well, considering that we are 80% of the population, that surely sounds about right now, doesn't it? Before I finish this talk, I should note that anti-feminist seems to be emerging as a distinct political identity in its own right, separate from MRA or MGTOW or men's rights or any of those trusty old classics. Even many feminists are now speaking of anti-feminism as a separate strand, a thing unto itself. As I said, they are studying us closely now and learning that we are not monolithic. And why are they doing this? Is it because they have suddenly turned liberal and broad-minded? Not on your life. It's because the conflict has entered a new phase, and a more sophisticated understanding of the world is imperative for them if they wish to stay on top of the game and not get plowed under. And on that note, I'd like to share something with you, an inspiring YouTube video put up by some of the Not Your Shield people. I think it really says a lot, and I think you'll enjoy watching it. And this would be cue number 2. I'm sorry. This would be cue number 1. Should be popping up in your chat window right about now. Go and watch this. This is kryptonite to the social justice warriors. When they watch this, they develop instant amnesia. They never saw it. Anyhow, Nick, I know you were preparing some kind of a talk for this episode, and I don't know if you are ready to present that or not, but if you are, this is it.
Well, I am. The theme for this episode is about, it's about the word equality, right? How it's kind of so nebulous that it has no meaning, right? If I've got that right.
You've got that right, Nick.
This was something that I took notice of before I started listening to you. I mean, I was already asking, what the hell is equality? And I remember listening to one of your canonical videos on your YouTube channel where you stated quite succinctly that equality outside the realm of mathematics has no fixed meaning. And I used that at the now long forgotten, but an event that actually happened called Vancouver, if anyone remembers that being hyped on A Voice for Men, back in 2012, when I was wearing my sandwich board along with John Hemling, and we encountered a woman who asked us if we believed in equality. And it just seems to be one of these 1984 words like black, white, or ingsoc. It can mean whatever you want. But if you're looking at it in terms of mathematics, things are either equal or they are different. And this is all segueing into the song that I recently, on Karen Straughan's channel, I started a video where I took apart the lyrics to Shania Twain's song, I'm Gonna Get You Good. And Shania Twain is pretty much the only country artist that I like. And I honestly find nothing objectionable about the lyrics in that song. But if the point of my breaking down the song lyrics are that if you were to take
if Shania Twain were a man, the feminists would go ballistic.
But the people would go on and on and on about equality, like it's so fucking important. If they were to analyze Shania Twain's song with an equal measure that they analyzed Robin Thicke's song "Blurred Line," they would find something far more reprehensible. Like what they had to do with Robin Thicke's song was they had to go in there and they had to use their fucking wizard's alchemy to take one line. I know you want it. That's the line they took. I know you want it. To mean that this is somehow a rape anthem. And
that was the sole straw that they're floating on in making their case that it's a rape anthem?
It really is the only thing. Because if you look at the lyrics, he says, come on, come at me. What kind of rapist tells their victim to
come on and come at me? Yeah, that's passive kind of rape, I would say.
Yeah, no, the reason that they lost their pigeons over that song was because it was a big, hubristic celebration of heterosexuality and being an alpha male. You had Robin Thicke, looking cool, hanging out with 3 of the world's most insanely gorgeous women, and at one point, there, a bunch of balloons spelled out the words, Robin Thicke has a big dick. I mean, it was so So obviously over the top.
Which was not in the actual song lyrics, right?
No, it was not in the song lyrics, but it was in the video. And I think, but when you listen to the song, you watch the video, the overall theme is, in my opinion, a celebration of heterosexuality and masculinity. I think that's what it is.
Which, if I were a feminist, would not thrill me too much to see such things being celebrated.
No. So they had to go in there and they had to find one single line, and as they always do, make such a huge deal out of it. And if they were to, again, coming back to the theme of equality, if they were, the absolute meaningless nature of the word as we know it today, if they were to use an equal, if they were to use the same measure that they used with that song, with Shania Twain's "I'm Gonna Get You Good," it's got lyrics like "You're a fine," the whole thing from start to finish. You're a fine piece of real estate, and I'm gonna give you some land. Don't try to run. Love can be fun. There's no need to be alone when you find that someone.
Coming from the mouth of a male singer, that would certainly sound like a rape anthem.
Yeah, and to add layers and layers of irony upon it, Shania Twain, she did a video for her song "Man, I Feel Like a Woman." Okay, and the video, when you watch the video video itself was a parody of the video for "Simply Irresistible," and I can't remember the artist behind "Simply Irresistible." James, can you know?
Yeah, that was Robert Plant, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that.
Yeah. Anyway, what happened was there was a video for a song called "Simply Irresistible" where the artist was in front of a backdrop.
Robert Palmer. That's it.
Robert Palmer.
Yeah, Palmer.
Robert Palmer.
He was standing in front of several female models, and this was in the late '80s, early '90s when female models were very tall, broad-shouldered, glamazons as they were called, and there were several of them, and they all had very white faces, and they were outfitted with guitars that they were obviously not playing, and they were just kind of rocking back and forth with these guitars in them. Well, Shania Twain felt that she didn't like the way that, or whoever's in charge of Shania Twain's videos, felt that they didn't like the way this video depicted women. Background, objects, all the same, just sort of props. And so to express their disaffection with this, what Shania Twain did was she set herself up with a bunch of male models in the background, dressed very similarly to the models from Simply Irresistible. And they were set up with guitars that they were obviously not playing and rocking back and forth. And the whole thing was obviously a gender flip of the video as a means of criticizing it, which is what I did with her song. It's not what I did with her song. I didn't flip anything. The only flip was that I was reading it in the social context of all this criticism for blurred lines. And, lost the point I was trying to make. But, right. Also, the gender flipping is exactly the plan that we used for Don't Be That Girl here in Edmonton. So I have no problem with any of Shania Twain's music, any of Shania Twain's videos, including "Man, I Feel Like a Woman." But when I use the exact same technique that she used, or whoever's in charge of her videos, for "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," applied to "I'm Gonna Get You Good," if you're going to use the same measure that they used, you get a song that's all about raping someone. And Shania Twain has never gotten 1 inch of criticism for that. I don't think she should.
Because she's not a man. I agree. She shouldn't get any criticism. The song was innocent.
She's not a man, and her videos are all about celebrating female sexuality. If you ever watch any single one of them.
Nothing wrong with celebrating sexuality as long as it's an equal opportunity sport for everybody. Celebrating sexuality or not celebrating sexuality. As long as everybody has an equal shot at that show.
And, in her videos, it's celebrating female sexuality, but it's a lot, it's usually she's the centerpiece, and you've got all of these men, when there are other men, so you got the moves, but have you got the touch, that video. You've got all these different suitors coming up to her in the desert, and she's too good for every single one of them. Man, I Feel Like a Woman. You've got all these male decorations in the background. It's all very reminiscent of the Material Girl video by Madonna, done in, again, late 80s, early 90s, where she's got all these male butlers fulfilling her every wish, and she's sitting there talking about how opulent her life is and how all these guys are there to serve her, and she's very materialistic, and she's very unapologetic about all that. And feminists didn't say one thing about any of that.
No, she's an icon for feminists.
No, not true. Madonna has come out on record and said, I am not a feminist, I am a humanist.
More recently she's done that, but back in the day...
Yeah. But, I mean, ultimately, everything that we're doing is drawing attention to the blatant double standards in all of these things. Right? And the thing is, it's not even a blatant double standard. Like, in Blurred Lines, the women are dancing around with no clothes, and they are kind of just decorations, but they're not nearly as background or as meaningless as the men in these videos that I've described by these female artists. When they talk about equality day in, day out, it clearly means nothing, because they are not applying the same standard of judgment to things that they like as to things that they don't.
Well, they can flip their standard of judgment anytime they want. I mean, that's the beauty of it. That's how feminism operates in pretty much every department. Anyway, I think it's time to go to the music break. James, go ahead and roll that. Hello, this is the Vanguard Report, episode number 28. Welcome back from the music break. We're moving into part 2 of tonight's episode. We were talking, Nick, what were we talking about just now? Something about equality, right?
Yeah, we were talking about how the word equality has absolutely no meaning beyond the realm of mathematics.
Well, now that may be a bit of an overgeneralization. I mean, it can be said to have a meaning maybe outside the realm of mathematics, but it's a really sort of a flaky meaning.
No fixed meaning.
Meaning.
It is a word that, a person can prop themselves up with, can make themselves look good, but then whenever you try to nail them down with any particular meaning or anything like that, well, I mean, they can dodge and evade because it's so, like you said, flaky and fluidic, isn't it?
Yeah, they can reframe the narrative just almost nonstop. And I was going to say, equality seems to be the holy grail of feminism. And we've all heard the dictionary definition of feminism, and we all know that the word equality is the main centerpiece in that definition. Of course, it is highly questionable whether feminism truly seeks equality between men and women, but let's leave that question aside for now. The term equality is most at home in the realm of mathematics, and we could make the case that it's away from home anywhere else. Math, you see, is pure abstraction, because numbers are pure abstraction. A number is no more than a conceptual quantifier. It may keep tabs on things in the real world, but of itself, a number has no assignable quality apart from abstractness. Numbers are not hot or cold, dry or wet, happy or sad, red or green, male or female, communist or capitalist. A number has no dimension and references nothing inherently. As long as you stick to pure math or something that can be mathematically operationalized, equality is a workable concept. Otherwise, it is an essentially contested concept. The reason is, when you apply this concept to human situations in the world of lived reality, it turns into a hopeless muddle. And yet that does not stop legions of muddle-headed people from applying the concept of equality to human situations in the world of lived reality. They do this all of the time. Right, Nick?
Oh, yeah.
They do. They do. It's getting old, really old. The non-mathematical world is a world in flux, a metamorphosing world. It is a dynamic world, to say the least. Never sits still for long. In such a world, equality becomes a very tricky and complicated idea. So what does equality mean as a core minimum? Well, at a core minimum, any way you cut it, equality signifies sameness or identity. Numerical quantities on opposite sides of an equation are always the same. There's sameness. They are always identical. Otherwise, the math is wrong. And there's no doubt about it. Either the math is right or the math is wrong. Either the numbers balance with each other or they don't. Because numbers are very abstract and very simple. Now, this core idea of sameness carries over into the real world, but soon goes completely south. You see, the only way to achieve equality in the human world, or even the physical universe at large, is to create absolute sameness of all things everywhere. That is what pure equality would equate to. It would equate to pure nothingness, pure non-existence, because it would annihilate the basis for all differentiation. And if you want my philosophical definition of the term existence, I would say existence is the mode of being that consists in interaction with other things. And interaction with other things is the key phrase, and the key word in that key phrase is interaction. Things interact. Non-things do not interact. If there's no difference or differentiation, there is no interaction. Hence, there is no existence. Yes?
Interaction is dependent on inequality.
Yes. One thing is different from another. If they were not different, they would all be the same, and there would be nothing. There would be no actors to act. Very, very truly and profoundly. Would annihilate the basis for all differentiation. So that's what you get when you try to make a mathematical idea govern every aspect of living reality. Mathematics is pure abstraction, hence pure nothingness. And when you force this nothingness upon the real world, the only logical outcome, mind you, the only logical outcome is pure nothingness. The real world is not only dynamic and ever-changing, but subject to countless frames of reference at any given point in time. You want to make all of that equal? Then you must roll it flat and turn it into nothing. No differentiation. No nothing. That's the rule. Existence is the mode of being that consists in interaction with other things. Now, when feminists, authoritarian leftists, and muddle-headed liberals talk about this equality thing, all they're really doing is playing with a pretty buzzword that makes them feel good because it conjures up certain glowing mental images. This is called the halo effect. Yes, Nick?
I'd also like to interject that they do it because they're preaching a utopia. They're talking about perfection. And the phrase that has been playing on my mind the whole time you've been talking is that perfection is oblivion. When you read the Bible and they talk about when everything is going to be perfect, and you know, when the Lord comes, the hills and valleys will be...
every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain laid low. How does that go again?
I don't even remember. But the hills, ultimately, the description is of hills and valleys equalizing out, becoming the same thing. You know, there are no extremes in either direction. There is no plus or minus. There is only zero.
And for all you Buddhists out there, the word nirvana might have some application.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. So, that's the halo effect of the word equality. I think of the word equality as a windsock, a very colorful, pretty windsock, just fluttering in the breeze and looking really nice up there, but there's nothing to it. It's full of air, and when the air stops moving, it's nothing but an empty sack or sock. The word equality is a conversational windsock, and people love to wave it around like a flag. Now, in feminist discourse, at any rate, in feminist discourse, equality does break down into two forms. When feminists and other social justice types talk about equality, typically they talk about either one, equality of opportunity, which is also known as formal equality, or two, equality of outcome, also known as substantive equality. Now, equality of opportunity can be achieved when you mandate equal rights under law. There is a kind of equality there. There is a correspondence. You know, you have this right in this situation. This other person has the same right in the same situation. There is a sameness there, which I suppose you could call equality. And if you wanted to work out a more complex math, you could map some kind of a one-to-one correspondence there and render it as a numerical operation, but I don't have the time or the expertise to do that here. So, equality of opportunity can be achieved when you mandate equal rights under law. Everybody starts from the same starting block. Everybody legally has the same opportunity in situation X. So really, it's about anti-discrimination. All right, now equality of outcome, however, goes deeper. It aims to rearrange the world so that no gross disparities of wealth or situation will be found ideally anywhere, as if everybody not only has an equal right to pick in the orchard, but a positive guarantee that they will come away with the same number of apples. That's equality of outcome. Equality of outcome can only be made real when some superior force, such as, state power, intervenes in the world of affairs and either redistributes the harvest or handicaps some of the harvesters so that they won't harvest any more than anybody else. That's equality of outcome. That's how you make it happen. You redistribute or you handicap. Furthermore, equality of outcome can only be made real when the intervening force, such as state power, drills down further and further and further into the microcosm of life to see that the redistribution and handicapping gets applied to even the smallest of transactions. See, we're going for a granularity of control here. So in a nutshell, equality of outcome is inherently a totalitarian project. That is the level of control which it ultimately requires. Total control, as in totalitarian. And in the end, it generates the biggest inequality of all. The enforcers of equality will have all the power, but everybody else will have little or none. So in the end, in the real world, there is no quote-unquote equality. There is only reconfigured inequality. That is where all efforts to create quote equality in the real world will take us. So if you want to worship equality, take my advice and be a mathematician. And instead of aiming for a more equal world, why don't we just aim for a more just and humane world? And then after we do that, spell out what the hell we're talking about and what we plan to do. And then we can take it from there. I'm getting really tired of hearing all this flapdoodle about equality. I don't oppose equality. I don't hate equality. I don't feel anything about it because the only appropriate response to nothing is nothing. Nick, you want to add anything?
Yeah. Back when the dopey that again, I keep on referring back to the glory days of 2013. But back when the Don't Be That Girl posters were huge, and we were about to take listening to talk by Dr. Jamie Brown on problems in the education system, there was a Facebook group set up talking about crashing an MRA event in Edmonton. And I was talking to the feminists on there, and they came at me with some charge. Do you believe in equality? Or they're like something about equality. I can't reference it now because it's been deleted, as it so frequently happens with feminist material because they are so ashamed of it and can't admit it, but that's the topic for another show. But someone came at me with something about equality, and I said that I don't believe in equality. And immediately it became, he's against equality. You all heard him. You know? And they go, no, I don't believe in equality the way I don't believe in the Easter Bunny. In my opinion, it is a meaningless word. And when you tell these cultists that you don't believe in their God,
oh boy,
they don't know what to do.
The shit hits the propeller, doesn't it?
They don't know what to do.
I pity them, sort of.
I don't just sort of pity them. I really do. But this battle isn't going to be won by talking about their character or their person. It is going to be won by sticking to ideas It is going to be won by sticking to arguments rather than discussing the people making them. It's not to say that the people making them and the people making their arguments and the people making our arguments are not important in the grand scheme, but if you go after their person, you are committing ad hominem, which is their turf. That is their home ground.
In the context of argument, yes. If you try to win the argument, the war of ideas by attacking the other person, as a personality, yeah, that's out of bounds.
Let there be no mistake. I and many other people in this fight are motivated by the deficiencies that we see in their character.
And
the
yes,
desire.
I would add to that the damage that deficiency is communicating to the world at large.
Yes, and the desire to see those people, as much as that phrase has fallen into disrepute, the desire to see those people no longer in charge. I don't want to see them rounded up into camps. I don't want to see them, well, okay, sometimes I do want to see them hurt. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I broke a social justice warrior's nose, but the cops got involved, and they told us to grow up. And that's all I'm going to say about that right now. So, but anyway, the way this is going to be won, and the way that a way of life that we want to see preserved is going to be done by focusing on the arguments and not the people making them.
The political and not the personal.
Exactly. And ironically, that is what will crush the people that we don't like. They can sit there and they can tell us how awful we are and how bad we are, and that's going to be the end of it. As we have seen time and time and time and time again, when they try to go after the argument, when they do their bestest to go after what we're talking about, they set themselves up like Humpty Dumpty. They're pathetic. So I thought, in response to, I can't remember who that anti-Gamergator was who went off about how all the Gamergators and sympathizers have to be rounded up and put into camps, right?
Would that have been Jordy Tate?
I don't know. I don't know who it was. But, I was trying to think of some kind of response to that. And I've been told, I'm not that well versed in
pardon me, I don't think you need to make a response to that. Just turn the microphone and shove it in the guy's face.
I don't have to. I get to. I was thinking that, again, I'm not very well versed in ancient Roman history, but I've been told that in ancient Rome, it was actually a capital offense to commit an ad hominem attack. And I was thinking, we should bring that back. But
be careful, somebody's going to quote you on that.
I was thinking it. What are they going to do? Come after my thoughts? Oh, wait, they do that all the time. No, it was just a thought, and I thought better of it. I thought against it, because we don't have to kill them. We don't have to kill anybody. We just have to kill their. We don't have to be
violent at all. We have to sit back and let them do the violence. If there's any violence to be done, and by that I include physical violence, let it come from their side and not from ours.
We don't have to kill the people. We have to kill their arguments. We have to really deep six everything they have to say.
And there are many ways to go about that.
Yeah.
And I think we've shared some good thoughts on this episode. Looks like we're coming up toward the brick wall of death. I would say we have about 3 minutes left. Anything we want to talk about before we wrap up the show? Nick, anything comes to mind?
Yeah, I want to give a special thanks to everybody who has donated or offered to donate to my new computer campaign. I do promise to use this computer to make some really good and thought-provoking videos. And I want to remind everyone that perfection is oblivion, and conflict is the essence of life.
That's a heavy thought, but I think there's more truth to that than a lot of us would like to believe. Anyway, I think it's about time to wrap it up. Before we do, everybody go to cfproject.blog.com to read the Poison Manifesto, which is the Bible of the Vanguard Report. cfproject.blog.com, and you can get a hold of us at our email address, which is Vanguard Report, all one word, Vanguard Report at USA.com. That's Vanguard Report at USA.com. Anything of interest or importance that you wish to communicate to us, it's Vanguard Report at USA.com. And on that note, it's been a great hour, everybody. I'll see you again next week. And Nick will see you again next week. We'll be here for episode number 29 of the Vanguard Report. So remember, feminism is what we say it is. Ciao. When I talk to Gamergate people, I do tend to avoid the subject of feminism, and I do limit my talk to points of common focus. I am here to be their ally, not to co-opt their cause. But let's not be coy about this. Even if we and the Gamergaters don't see eye to eye about everything, we are standing shoulder to shoulder all the same. Whether we discuss it or not, feminism is thoroughly implicated in the powers that we are struggling against. And so we cannot doubt the magnetic chain of affinity that links us. The same corrupt power structure that makes war upon them has been making war upon non-feminist people in general for years. And that is a fact worth noting. That is why I say that our world has gotten bigger. People like us, almost overnight, have merged into a far more extended demographic pool. And in the process of so doing, our identity is changing. The word MRA has long been used as a catch-all for a motley collection of people. Pretty much anybody who complains about women, laments the condition of men, speaks harshly of feminism, or any combination of these. For feminism in particular, this word has been a device to contain any threat to the feminist power structure, mainly because it conflates misogyny with principled critique of feminism in order to put... I am Fidelbogen. I have become very, very, very active on Twitter in the last 4 or 5 weeks or so. And I have just at last check reached the 915 follower mark. And that's a hint. Anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, that's at Fidelbogen. And if you don't know how to spell Fidelbogen, okay, that's Fidelbogen. So everybody, please become my follower on Twitter, at Fidelbogen. That's the one to follow. And I'm looking forward to cracking the 1,000 barrier here. I expect that to happen before too long. All right, on to the first topic of the evening. There is a trend, which I have been noticing recently, something that seems to be developing in the wake of Gamergate. Suddenly, our world has gotten bigger, dramatically bigger. An army of reinforcements has arrived on the field, and the nature of the battle has changed dramatically overnight. The Gamergate uprising is not officially part of any counter-feminist insurgency, much less part of any so-called men's rights movement, yet there is no getting away from a certain intersectionality, let's say. Certainly, the other side, the feminist side, is keenly aware of all this. It's true that Gamergate is fighting the incursion of social justice warriors into the computer gaming culture, but we all feminism is what we say it is. And we say that feminism is the problem. Putting the conversation where it needs to be, this is the Vanguard Report. Hello, friends around the world. Welcome to episode number 28 of the Vanguard Report. Here on the Vanguard Report, it is our business to dismantle feminism and to encourage anybody out there to set up shop doing the very same thing. And how do we dismantle feminism? We expose feminism's lies. We reveal the persistent behavior of feminism's participants. We show the damage which feminism has inflicted on the world. That is how we dismantle feminism. Remember, feminism is a moral collective and is held accountable by us as a moral collective. Non-feminism will know perfectly well that this incursion was spearheaded some time ago by a feminist named Anita Sarkeesian. We all know this, don't we? Likewise, we know that the Gamergate trigger events were A, the Zoe Quinn affair, and B, the cultural war of aggression against the gaming community by the social justice media. Recall all of those slanderous attack articles that they wrote? Just boom, 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 just like that. We also know that the feminists and the social justice warriors are on a continuum with each other and not easily distinguishable. They are both extensions of the authoritarian left, and where one goes, the other is sure to follow. So whether anybody wants to admit it or not, the Gamergate people and people like us are fighting on the same side against a common enemy. Maybe we just don't quite define that enemy in quite the same terms, at least not yet. I know that in the past several weeks, I've started talking about social justice warriors almost as venomously as I talk about feminism, and I think that is a signature development. Now, the Gamergate people do avoid talking about feminism as an adversary, at least officially. That's understandable, given that a number of them claim to have feminist leanings. Nevertheless, I have been tweeting to Gamergate-related hashtags quite a bit, and probably a third of my Twitter followers are gamers. And yes, on the other hand, is merely the world exclusive of feminism. It is morally and intellectually diverse. It is not an ideology, not a body of theory. It is not a political grouping, and its various parts are nowise answerable to one another. That's the non-feminist sector. Furthermore, non-feminist men and women are 80% of the population by the best estimates I've heard. And how can 80% of the population be collectively guilty of anything? So, I am Fidelbogen, your host for this episode of the Vanguard Report, and with me is my fellow host, Nick Reading, a true son of the Alberta Prairie. Nick, say hello to all of the people.
Hey everybody, I'm Nick Reading with Men's Rights Edmonton. I would like to thank all the people who offered used computers to me in my last video that I made with Karen Strong, but I ended up receiving enough monetary donations to go out and buy my own. And normally, this would be a good thing. It is a good thing. I got a new computer, but the technical difficulties that come with, Windows 8 and this new Skype have made it so that rather than using my new computer, I am talking to all you kind people on my phone.
Well, Nick, I know you're a Luddite at heart, and I'll tell you let me tell you a little secret. So am I. We're both Luddites, Nick. We're both Luddites. Okay? Anyhow, hey everybody,